Hi guys, so sorry about that. The live stream the phone just crashed. So I started the live stream again. If you're getting this notification, feel free to hop back on the live stream so that I can continue. I apologize for that. At least it wasn't my internet this time. It was just the phone crashing. Okay, so I'm going to continue. So what are the reasons for making conscious choices? We had freedom, we have creativity. So creativity is a huge reason to make a conscious choice because it means that you're creating the life you want to live. And guess what else? Every time you make a choice, whether it's conscious or not, you're creating the world that you want to live in as well. You're giving your vote for the creation of the world. So making conscious choices for the purpose of creativity, so important. We had Jen Doyle there talking about alignment, being true to yourself. Truth is huge. So being able to stand for your truth, being able to declare your truth through your conscious choices, also very big. Being able to use your voice in order to speak your truth by choosing that which aligns with your desire. Okay, so that's really important. Taking care of yourself. And I think another big reason to make conscious choices has to do with becoming your own champion, becoming your own biggest supporter, becoming in your life that somebody who is there for you, behind you, who's got your back. And that should be you. It should be you who's got your back. And every time you make a conscious choice, you become that person who is supportive of your choice. You become that person who's got your back. So that's another great reason. Thanks everybody for coming back onto the live stream. I apologize, my phone crashed. I quickly started a new live stream and thank you for hopping back on. And I just kind of continued with the purpose of love that. Thank you. We are back. Yes, we are, Mel. Thanks so much. So anything that you may have missed from the beginning of this second live stream, you can always catch in the replay. We're going to move on. Oh, before we move on to the second one, I just have one thing to say about making conscious choices, and the purpose of that is that what if we believed that our number one job in this life was to live the highest and the best path for ourselves? If we believed that, I think we would always work hard to make really conscious choices, because it'll only be those choices that create the kind of life that we want to live, that create that highest and the best path that we want. And I really believe that is our only job. Our only job here is to choose what is right for us and to do what resonates with us and to use our voice and our heart and our soul to stand for that and make sure that we're making choices that make us happy. Okay, let's move on to the second point here. We're going to move on to identifying what blocks your power of choice. And right away, we're going to do another quick question. So again, what blocks your power of choice? What is the first thing that comes to mind? So you're in a situation where all of a sudden you need to make a choice. Some people are doing this, some people are doing that, and then somebody says, hey, what about you, Jessica? Hey, what about you, Mel? What do you want to do? And you choke. You, for whatever reason, say, oh, I'll do whatever everybody else is doing. There we go. So Jessica says you're worried about what others might think of your choices. For sure. So Will they think it's too big? Will they think it's too idealistic? Will they think it's too small? Will they be hurt by your choice? So that's a great one, being worried about what others might think. Mel, fear, yes. Fear of failure, fear of not doing the right thing, fear of everything falling apart, fear of not getting what you want. There are so many things to fear. If you really want to look at it, there's so many things to fear. Judgment, yes, because every time you put yourself on the line, every time you stand for your truth, every time you declare the choice that you want to make, you put yourself out there for criticism and for judgment. So that's a really good one. Every time you make yourself visible by declaring what it is that you want, you are then susceptible to judgment. So I get that. Mel says, I don't know how I'd explain myself. So you're in a situation and you're not sure how to say what it is that you want, and so you just, forget it. Yes, I've been there, let me tell you. Allison says, fear of outshining my siblings or my family. That's a really good one. So I too have suffered from that, where it's kind of like you have a place that you have to stay in with your family. And as long as you stay in that place, okay, then everybody knows where they can stand and where they can be, right? And so as soon as you make a choice that puts you in their eyes sort of above or in front or into a better place because of a better choice that you made for yourself, then maybe they could perceive that as you outshining them. So, I totally can identify with that. Jessica says, I agree. And Erin says, guilt. So let's go into that one a little bit. So Guilt blocks you from making a conscious choice. Can you elaborate on that, Erin? Because that's a really multi-leveled, multi-dimensional blockage, guilt. It has connections to so many different things. So take a moment and just explain, give me an example, or just explain what you mean by guilt getting in the way. What kind of guilt? Where does the guilt come from? What do you feel guilt about? Okay, and add on to that. What if I shine too brightly? Yes, that goes back to Allison's comment for sure. Wasn't it Marianne Williamson who said, we are not afraid of our failures, we're afraid of, our greatness. And so that's what that speaks to, is growing up, being afraid of our greatness, for sure. Please tag a friend who you might think will benefit from this free class. Yes, at the beginning. Definitely share the video, tag a friend, and get them on this live stream, because there's some juicy stuff going on here in terms of, good, Erin. Guilt related to family, moving away from home, not there to take care of family, so feeling decisions are selfish. Okay, good one. I hear you. So guilt, and Jen adds to that, guilt of hurting or disappointing somebody. Yes, okay, so I totally understand now about the guilt. So depending on the decision you're making or the choice that you're making, right? It's could come with a lot of guilt, because maybe the decision you're making is leaving somebody behind. Or maybe the decision you're making is then, moving forward with your own life and not doing what your parents wanted you to do, or not being there in the way your parents want you to be there for them, or your siblings, or whatever it is. So I totally get that, which sounds perfect. Guilt of hurting or disappointing somebody. So perfect. Guilt is a great blockage, and a big, big blockage. Kathleen Green, how are you? I still don't understand, she says, feeling afraid of shining too brightly. Well, it's similar to the guilt thing. Actually, it's very similar to the guilt thing. So making a choice that puts you in the spotlight, making a choice that puts you in a pot of jam, that, making the best choice for yourself, the one that you really want and the one that feels the best. Because a lot of times people don't do that. And so sometimes you can feel that also can speak to guilt, where you can feel guilty for choosing the best for yourself because others are not. And so you should not. So you shouldn't have that big shiny thing because other people aren't getting that big shiny thing. So I think that it's an extension of feeling guilty about making a choice that maybe other people want to make, but they don't, you know? So it's really definitely a good one. Okay, I'm gonna see what else I have here. So I've got people pleasing. That's a great block when you want to please somebody else instead of yourself. Feeling overwhelmed. So, you know, sometimes there's a lot of expectation, there's a lot of information, and it can be easy to feel overwhelmed and then sort of powerless in making a choice in that moment. I have unworthiness, which in talking to 3 or 4 different people about making choice, I have heard the word unworthiness a lot, not feeling like you're enough, not feeling like you're worth making the choice that you really, really want to make. What are you saying, Allison? Oh, Kathleen, when you have others in your family who aren't loving themselves or shining brightly, we can subconsciously dim ourselves. Yes, really good. Yes, information overwhelm. So that often depletes us and disables us from being able to make a choice. I also have worry. So I've been a worry choice maker for a long time in my life. So I'm worried about what others will think, or I'm worried about, you know, if the choice will fail, or I'm worried about if it's too big, or I'm worried about if it's too small, or if it's too fast, or if it's too slow. Or so I went for a lot of years of having my power of choice disabled because I was way too worried about the outcome. You know, you name it. That's what I was worried about. That has since changed. I'm a lot more conscious of it, but worry can definitely be a big one. I also have lack of confidence, which we touched on a little while ago. And of course, here's a big one again, is that something that blocks your power of choice is not knowing what you want. So it's really, really important to know exactly what it is that you want, to be able to connect with your own desires, your own wants, so that when it comes time to making a choice, you're always choosing in alignment with those desires. So knowing what you want is super duper important in order to be able to utilize the power of choice. Worry is my superpower, says Kathleen. Me too, up, up, and away. Okay, we're going to move on. The last part of this training is a choice profile. So a personal choice profile can be a tool that can enable you to use it whenever you're faced with a choice, and especially when you're faced with a big decision that you might not make right in the moment, but you might take a couple of days to think about. That's especially when the choice profile will come in handy, because it will be a set of things that you can reference that will remind you what your tendencies are when you're making a choice and get you to point yourself in the opposite direction to try to connect more deeply with the truth of your desires and make a choice that is what you want. Okay? So it's a really good little thing to have in your back pocket. So we're going to start off by asking a bunch of questions. Again, bullet questions. So when I ask them, just throw your answer into the chat box. These are mostly yes or no. So we'll talk a little bit about each one, but I want everybody to try to sort of, this is where your pencil and paper might come in handy too, because you might want to sort of write down the question, maybe not the entire question, but keywords of the question, so that you know where your yes or no is attached. And for each one, you could just write down the keywords let's start. Question number 1, okay? Do you become overwhelmed or confused about what choice to make when you're faced with expectation, information, and a million opinions? So yes or no? When you're in that situation where it's like people expect certain things of you, there's lots of information and there's lots of people throwing opinions at you versus what it is you want to do, does that make you feel confused or overwhelmed? Okay? So these are the answers we kind of want to remember. So expectant, information, opinion throws you into overwhelm. Yes, throws me into overwhelm too. Not as much as it used to, but it still definitely can. Okay, question number 2. Do you give yourself permission to change your mind? Ooh, not usually. Great. So that's not your trigger there. Perfect, Kathleen. So do you give yourself permission to change your mind? Meaning you make a choice and then you find out information that then makes you want to change your mind. And so then you do what's necessary to change your mind, whether you have to contact somebody or whatever, but you realize, hey, this is not a good choice for me anymore. I'm going to change it up. Or do you allow yourself to do that? Yes or no? Change your mind. Or do you get that new information, do that, follow through with that same choice anyway, because, oh, you made a commitment, because your parents taught you that once you give your word, you can never break your word, you know? And so you end up following through with a choice and not feeling very good at the end because it wasn't what you wanted to do. I mean, there's no worse of a feeling than doing things that you don't want to do, you know? No, major pain when I have to change my mind. I guess. No. Or if I do, I carry a lot of guilt for not following through. Yes, worried about commitment. Okay, good. So, giving yourself permission to change your mind, not so easy to do sometimes. Good. So just take note of your answers for these questions. Let's go to the third one. Are you afraid to make a choice that flies in the face of public opinion? Okay? Or that flies in the face of, you know, maybe what your parents or your family or your culture would be accepting of. Okay? So does it scare you to make a choice that isn't very popular? Whether it's your family, whether it's society, whether it's people at work, whether it's friends. Is it difficult for you to make a choice that flies in the face of what's popular? So that used to be something that was a little bit difficult for me to do. Mel, yes, I'm absolutely afraid of that. Okay. Kathleen, nope, not at all. Great. Nope, not at all for me now. Now, I don't care. Not so much afraid, says Sheena, but usually nervous or unsure. Yes, I think that goes with the territory. I mean, being nervous, even being afraid is okay. You know what I mean? And then, of course, not listening to the fear and going through with it anyway. I don't know that we're going to eradicate fear or nervousness when we're doing something that we know flies in the face of normalcy. However, as long as you would do it anyway. Aaron, yes, makes you feel afraid. Okay, good. We're moving on. Do you have a tendency to put others' choices before your own? This is a great question. Obviously speaks to people pleasing. Obviously speaks to that martyr kind of taking care of other people before you take care of yourself kind of thing, you know? So put it in the chat box. Do you ever put other people's choices before you put your own self and your own choices first? Jessica, I do all the time. Okay. Aaron, yes, codependent, hashtag codependent. I love that. Sheena, as a mom, yes. Yes. Okay. Mel Moore. Yes. Kathleen Green. Depends on who the other people are. Okay. Okay, good. Wow, it's so great to hear you guys and your responses to all of these questions. It's awesome. Okay, we're moving on. So try to remember what you're saying yes to and what you're not. We're going to go over it again after I tell you about my choice profile. But this is what's creating your profile, what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. Okay. Do you make choices and then regret them later? Or regret them right after you make them? Like very shortly after you make them. You know, I have a friend who does that, who like makes a choice and then 10 or 15 minutes later, it's just like, oh, what did I do? I should have never done that. And it happens all the time, all the time, all the time. So do you make a choice and then 10 to 15 minutes later, or even a day later, totally regret your choice? You know, so that can speak to perhaps choosing too hastily. So making a choice really, really fast without thinking about it. Mel says, not usually. By the time I'm ready to make the choice, I'm pretty damn certain about it. Good. So you take your time when you make a choice. Sheena, no, but I find that after I make the choice, I seek feedback or reassurance. Okay. So that's a good thing to note. You know, hard to stand for your choice afterwards, just to make sure you made the right choice, to have somebody say, you know, like, good job or good choice. Jessica, sometimes, she says, good. Kathleen says, no regret, but do worry if it's the right choice or not. Good. So a little bit of like unsureness, not sure exactly. Erin, sometimes. And Mel, yes, I take my sweet time. No, I think it's good to take your time when you make a choice. So that's what that would speak to. And Jessica says again, I need reassurance too. Perfect. Okay, we're moving on. Does making a choice, so the act of making a choice, does it make you feel empowered or does it make you feel lost? Okay, so for some people, making a choice makes them feel really empowered. Like, okay, good. Now that I've chosen that, you know, I feel good. I feel like I accomplished something. I feel like I took care of myself, and I feel like I set things in the right motion. Or do you make a choice and feel loss because you're too worried about the outcome of the choice? You're too worried if it's the right choice or not. You're too worried if, you know, other people are going to like your choice, or you're going to receive your choice, or what other people are going to think about your choice. So what do we have? Jessica says empowered. Nice. Sheena says empowered, and I feel like a weight is off. Yeah, I kind of feel that way too often, that the sooner that I can make a real conscious decision about what I actually want, then the quicker I can move forward. Erin Wise says, yes. Too worried to feel empowered. Okay, so that also can be quite a common response with that, for sure. Okay, we have one more question before I'm going to go over my choice profile, and that is, let's just read what Mel says. Is it possible to feel both? I mostly feel relief, and then freedom and empowerment, and then a little bit of sadness, and what if this is the wrong choice? So yes, of course it's possible to feel both, obviously, because you're feeling both. It makes total sense. It's kind of like one part of you knows, you know, that making a conscious choice sort of releases you and gives you that freedom and empowerment. But then the other side of you, which is still practicing, has a hard time letting go and having the faith that it's going to be the right thing for you. So that's totally normal, for sure. Jessica, I feel you, babe. Yes, totally normal. Okay, I'm looking for an answer in the form of a percentage here. So out of 100%, What percentage of the time do you make choices that are absolutely right for you? Okay? What percentage of the time do you make choices that are absolutely right for you? This is a great little question. It is going to force you to think a little bit. Not where you walk away after you make a choice and you're just like, should I have? But when you walk away and you know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, you have aligned with your truth. You've aligned with your desires. You have told it like it is and chosen absolutely what it is that you want for yourself. 50 to 60%, Kathleen says.
Call from blank.
Sorry about that. Telephone. 50 to 60%, excellent. It's not bad at all. So keep them coming in. Throw it in the chat box. Aaron Wise, 60%. Jessica, 30%. That may be generous. Good job, you guys. I love your honesty so much. Mel Moore, last week, 5%. Maybe 70 or 80%. Depends on what we're talking about. If it's my health, I've been putting my baby first, so then it would be more like 50. But generally, 70 to 80. Yes, I mean, you know, you've got to put things into perspective too, especially if you have children and that kind of stuff, you know. Again, we're looking for, are you resonating? Like if you have a child, we're going to assume you wanted to have a child. And if you're paying attention to and taking care of your child, we're also going to assume you want to do that. So you're making choices that, you know, you're aligned with, okay? So that's not you not taking care of yourself. So it's more like taking a look at when you make choices that you don't want to make, that you don't like, that you're letting other people make for you. Here we go. Good. That's great. Jessica, today, 100%. Woo, woo. I love that. And that's the other thing too, is taking a look at your percentages and also taking a look at the different days and the different weeks, because sometimes we're a little more challenged than others to make the choices that we truly align with, and other days it can be a lot easier depending on how we feel. So it's always good to find the wins in every day. Find those wins. Nice work, you guys. So based on all of those questions, you can break it down. So this is how I've broken it down for myself. I have one more question. It's the last one. Sorry, when I turned my page over, it gave me one more. Here's the last one. Would you consider yourself to be more of a leader or a follower? Okay? I know this is a kind of a cliche question in a certain sense, but it's more about how you would consider yourself, because how you consider yourself to be more of a leader or a follower is definitely going to determine what kind of a choice maker you are, what kind of a chooser you are. And that's what this is about. That's what a personal choice profile is. It is a profile about what kind of chooser you are. What makes you choose, what makes you not to choose, what makes you afraid, what makes you empowered. So would you consider yourself to be more of a leader or follower? Good. Leader. Mel Moore. Good. Jessica, leader. Okay. Excellent. Keep them coming in. Leader or follower. This is just going to go on your choice profile, and it's just going to give you the information you need going forward to make choices that you really want. So if you know that you're more of a leader, it's going to point you in a certain direction. If you know that you're more of a follower, then it's going to point you in another direction. Okay? Perfect. Leader, says Sheena, and I try to stay pretty calm when it comes to choices, which is very good. Nice work. All right. So we're going to take all of those answers and all of that information that we just went through and create the profile. And right now I'm going to read you my profile so that you can have an idea of how to put it together. So based on all the questions we just asked. I am more of a leader than a follower. I have a tendency to make quick, rash decisions. Okay? That's always been my tendency. I also have a tendency to influence other people's choices. I notice that about myself. I sometimes say yes when I mean no. So not all the time do I not put myself first, but there are times where I say yes when I really don't want to do it, and I just say yes anyway. I feel empowered when I make choice, and I choose for myself about 70% of the time. Okay, so that would be sort of the overview of my choice profile. Kathleen, I tend to be put in leader positions, but some days I just want to sit at the back of the room and be quiet and follow. Fair enough. I hear you. And which you're able to choose to do whenever you feel like it, whenever it feels good for you to do. Be the follower. I do it all the time. So once you've written down your tendencies, so that's what the choice profile is it's all about your tendencies based on those questions. So you can write out what your tendencies are, because the next step with that is to then turn those tendencies into actually the opposite of that, so that you actually have a map in front of you that will give you some ideas of how to approach yourself the next time you need to make a choice. So if I am more of a leader, okay, then I would lead myself. So I need to lead myself. And then if I have a tendency to make quick, rash decisions, I need to take my time and think about things a little bit before I blurt out my choice. That's going to help me out, is to take my time. If I have a tendency to influence other people's choices, it would be good for me to remember to mind my own business. Okay? That's another thing I can remember when I'm about to make a choice. And I sometimes say yes when I mean no. So I must remember to say yes only when I need yes, and find the courage to say no when I mean no. So again, these are suggestions from my choice profile that are going to point me in the proper direction and remind me of my tendencies, so that I can do the opposite of them in order to make the choices that I really want to make, in order to make conscious choices. Okay? And let's see what's left. Last but not least, remember the sense of empowerment I feel when I make a choice. So I feel empowered when I make a choice. So that aligns with me. When I make a conscious choice, I feel empowered. So the next time I'm going to make a choice, then I have to remember how empowered making that choice enables me to feel. And that's also going to help me or support me in making choices that I really want to make. So what I'm going to do too is I'm going to post this list of questions into the Wise Women page when I'm finished with this live stream, so that you could go over those questions again and see where your yeses and nos are, and you could copy and paste them, into your own little document and put that together. And then I'm going to put together my own choice profile and put that up on the Wise Women page, along with how I turn the profile into a little bit of a support system, which becomes a tool that I can use the next time that I want to make choice, so that I can remind myself of my tendencies and sort of go in the other way, go in the other direction. So I'm going to put all that up for you on the Wise Women page. That way you can go back, create your own profile, change it into a support system, and use it as a tool to make choices. I mean, at the very least, doing the exercise alone already sort of changes your brain and makes you more conscious of some of the reasons why you choose or don't choose, and what kind of things get in the way of choosing, and how to sort of move those aside and focus on what it is that it's going to force you to make a good choice. The last thing I want to say about choice here is that every choice you make doesn't only create your reality. It doesn't only create your life or the things that you want in your life. Every choice you make creates the world. Okay? The world that we live in is created through all of the choices that we make. And each choice creates something else. Okay? So if we want a world that looks or feels a certain way, if we want to live in a world that has certain values, certain way that it supports us in living within that world, then we have to be conscious of making those choices that ultimately support and create that kind of world. So to also start thinking about our choice on a more global level instead of just a personal level, but also remembering that when we do make a choice for ourselves, when we are in total alignment with our desires and we make a totally conscious choice, we are not only creating the world, but our choice is good for everyone because it encourages everyone to do the same. You are modeling how making your own choice, the things that make you feel good, that model will encourage other people to do the same. And when everybody is making choices that resonate only with the things that they want to do, then we're going to create a world that resonates with all of us. And it will be a truer world that we're going to live in. So keep that in mind. That's powerful. Jessica says it's so powerful. So now I want to ask you a question. Would you like me to give you the link to an amazing course called Choice that goes deeper into conscious choice, okay? That is a 6-step challenge that takes you through 6 techniques, 6 daily practices in order to beef up and strengthen your power of conscious choice. Do I have your permission right now to show you the link to our latest course that is going to exactly address every single one of the things that we talked about within this training? Would that be something that you would be interested in? So identifying all the things that block your choice and dealing with all of those, to going deeper into the choice profile, to understanding why and how you block your power of choice, to learning the powerful techniques and tools that will enable you to only make choices that resonate with you, to only make choices that you want. Okay, yes, hell yeah, good. So this training is coming up at a super short time, and I'm going to grab the camera.